Okay, so for 5th class, it's page 55 on Busy at Maths. Okay, and we're looking at question 1, I believe it is. So we're trying to find a fraction of a total number. So say for example, our first question here, Jim scored 3/4 of his shots. Now he took 20 shots altogether, so what we're trying to find is 3/4 of 20. Okay, so we know that 4 over 4 is 1, so that's a whole amount, okay? So we know in total parts there's 4, and we have 4 parts of that 4. So say if it was a circle, and it was split into 4 parts, and we have 4/4, we know that the whole circle is coloured in. Okay, so we know the whole circle is coloured in. Now we're looking for 3/4, so we're looking for that much. Okay, so we're trying to get rid of a quarter. So how we do this is we know that 4/4 is 20, because that's the total amount we took all together. So we know that it's 20, that's the total amount altogether. So that's 4 over 4. Now what we're going to try do now is we're going to try find 1 out of 4, so 1/4. Okay, so how we do that is if we have 4 over 4 here, we're going to divide that by 4 into 4 parts. So we want to get 20 into 4 parts, 4 equal parts that we have in quarters. So what's 1/4 of 20? So if we divide 20 by 4, we get 5. Okay, so 1/4 is equal to 5. So how will we get 3/4? So if we divide it by 4 to get to 1, how do we get that back up to 3? So we don't want to go back up to 4, we want to go up to 3. So we'll multiply, alright? So if we want to go back up towards 3, you have to multiply by, what multiplied by 1 will get 3? 3. So you have to multiply 5 by 3, and we get 15, alright? So we get 15. When you multiply 5 by 3, you get 15. Okay, so that's how we find our fractions. Okay, so our fraction of our whole number. So our first score is 15. Okay, and now we're going to rub this out and we're going to go for the next one. Actually go for the last one there, just so we know how to do it. Okay, so Tom scored 4/7 of 56. So what's 56 again? Is 56 our 4/7? No, 56 is our whole number. So 56 is our whole number. So what is that in sevenths? What's a whole 7th? It's 7 over 7, isn't it? Okay, so 7 over 7 is equal to 56. Okay, so how will we find 4/7? What's the first thing we have to do? So we know what 7/7 is. How do we get that down to 4? So we'll have to divide by something first. So what will we divide by? 7. Okay, so 7's on the top. We need to get that all the way down to 1 first. Because if we go to 1, we can find 2/7, 3/7, 4/7, 5/7. It's all about getting it down to 1 so we can do whatever we want with it after that. So once we get to 1/7, we can choose any number other than 4. We can get that answer really easy. Alright? So 7 into 56 goes how many times? So how many times can we take away 7 from 56? 8, can't we? So 1 over 7 is equal to 8. Okay, so 1 over 7 is equal to 8. Now, how do we find 4 over 7? So we know what 1 over 7 is. So how do we get that back up to 4? We multiply by 4, don't we? So 4 over 7 is equal to, so what's 4 by 8? 32. Okay, so 4 by 8 is 32. So out of 56, Tom scored 32. Okay, so what's important is the first thing we do is get the whole fraction. So the whole fraction. And then the next thing we do is we divide. And the last thing we do is multiply. Okay, so we get the whole fraction. So that was 7 out of 7. We know that was 56. We then break it down all the way to one part. So 1/7. We got 8. And then we brought it back up to what we wanted. So the part that we desired. We wanted to get 4/7. So we brought it back up to that. Okay, what would we do down here if we wanted to get 5/7? So we're starting back here. If we wanted 5/7, what would we do? So instead of 4/7, we're going 5/7. So we've got it down to 1. All we have to do is multiply by 5. And what do we get? 40. Alright? If we wanted to make that 6/7, what would we get? 48. We know what 7/7 is. So it's all about getting this. This is the most important part of it. Getting it down to 1/7. Because then we can find any fraction we want from that. We can find 2/7, 3/7, 4/7, 5/7, anything we want. Alright? Okay, and then down here, we'll have to say who scored the most. So we'll have to see who scores the biggest. And then who scored the least, so who scores the smallest. Okay, and then this question here, number 2 I think it is we have to correct Louisa's homework. Okay, so if she's correct, we give it a tick. If it's incorrect, we give it an X. Okay, so 4/5 of 40 is equal to 35. So what's the very first step we have to do? So in our heads, what's the very first step? We have to see what the whole fraction is, alright? So that would be 5/5. Okay, so we'll put it up here. So we'll get the whole fraction. Okay. Oh, get rid of that one. So 5/5 is equal to 40. Okay, now what do we do with that? We have to divide. We have to get it down to 1, don't we? So if we divide by 5, what do we get? So what's 40 divided by 5? It's 8, isn't it? So 8. And now what do we have to get it up to? We want to go back up to 4. Okay, so we multiply 8 by 4. What do we get? So 8 by 4 is 32. Okay, so 32. So is that correct? Is it equal to 32 or 35? 32, isn't it? So is that correct or incorrect? If it says 35, it's incorrect. Alright? Incorrect. Okay, so we know the first one's incorrect. You should know it's the exact same method the whole way along after that. So we're trying to find the whole number first. Then we divide by whatever the whole number is. And then we multiply by our desired number, so what we want to get up to. Okay, so it's very important we get the whole number first, divide, and then multiply. Okay, and you have one more question on page 55, so 2 more. So question 3 and question 4. So these children have the following fractions of the price of the rugby ball. So the rugby ball costs €48. So €48. And how much money has each child? So each child has a certain amount of money, and they're basing the price of the rugby ball as the whole of the fraction. Okay, so what is the best idea to do here? Okay, so for example, John has 5/6, Liz has 3/8, Joe has 3/4, Ella has 7/8, and Brian has 5/12. So the first thing we have to do is find the whole number. Okay, so for each of them, so for John, for example, John is A. So John has how many? What fraction of it? He's 5/6. So we know that we're going to have to break it down into 1/6. So we know 6/6 is equal to 48. Okay, so what's 1/6? So 1/6 would be, so 48 divided by 6. So that is 8, isn't it? So 8. And what do we have to do with that then? So 1/6 is equal to 8. What do we have to find then? 5/6, don't we? So we make that into 5/6. And that's equal to, so what do? We have 1/6, that was 8. What do we have to do to this number to get it to 5/6? To multiply it by 5. So 8 by 5 is equal to 40. So we know 5/6 of 48 is equal to 40. So you're going to write this into your copy. So John has 5/6, and we're going to break it down this way. So we're going to say 6/6 is equal to 48, 1/6 is equal to 8, and then we have 5/6 is equal to 40, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you how I want you to do this. Alright, so 5. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to say 6/6 is equal to 48. Then underneath it then, I want you to write 1/6 is equal to, what did we say again? 8, didn't we? Okay, so our question 3, isn't it? Okay, and then what's next we have to do? 5/6 is equal to 40. Alright, so that's how I want you to write it, and you can do B over here then in your copy. Right? Okay, so that's that for that one. That should be easy. So for the next one, we're finding 3/8. So what do we have to find first? The first thing we have to find is 1/8. Okay, so we know that the whole number is 48. So 8/8 is 48. We'll write that over here. So 8/8 equals 48. Now, we know that we have to find what next? 1/8. Okay, so I want to see it like this. I don't want anything else. Just like this, alright? Okay, so what do we know that is? 6, alright? Okay, so can we see a pattern between here and here? So 1/6 is equal to 8. 1/8 is equal to 6. Okay, so can you see a pattern there? Okay, so that might help you a small bit. And then here we have to fix the printer. So the printer did not print the following numbers. So can you write them in their correct places? Okay, so we have to put these numbers in here. So what I want you to do is I want you to write out the, just like we did in the last one. So it'll be question 4. So question 4A. And our first question is 2/3 of 18. So 2/3 of 18. Okay, and then we say 3/3 equals 18. So what's next thing we have to do? 1/3 is equal to 8, or what is it? So 1/3 is equal to 6. So 6, so 1/18 is equal to 6. So what is 2/3? So 1/3 is equal to 6. What's 2/3? 2/3 is equal to 12. Okay, so our answer for the first one is 12. Is it up there? Yeah, perfect. So 12. So you're going to write that into your copy, right? So just like this. Okay, so just like that, right? And I want you to take a picture and I want you to upload it to the Class Dojo, and it'll be under this response. Right? Okay, so if you have any problems, contact me on Class Dojo. This should be pretty easy after the first few. Once you get into rhythm of it, it's okay. So the first thing we always have to do is find the whole number, then the one fraction of it, and then we have to find the desired fraction. So we have to find the whole number, divide, and then multiply.